Andy Burnham, new Labour leader, dancing to New Order's True Faith, which is what Labour eminences and members in this hall have in him. Though, as the lyric says, he used to think that this day that he always wanted would never come. But it did at midday, when the Home Secretary said,
"The duly elected leader of the Labour Party is Andy Burnham."
Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much.
The biggest thank you went to someone who won't be reciprocating, the man he ousted, Keir Starmer.
I am ready. Ready to lead and to build on the foundation laid by one person more than any other. Under Keir Starmer's leadership, we went from our worst defeat to one of the best victories in our history.
But after he becomes Prime Minister on Monday, what will he actually do?
I will tell you about 5 things. First, I will work relentlessly to build a culture of one Labour team.
Which he said meant no more factionalism, and unlike under Starmer, he'd have all shades of Labour in his cabinet and he wouldn't punish dissenters.
This brings me to my second change. I will work to build a new politics. How can politicians point fingers when living standards are falling and politics as a whole isn't working? Let's be honest, everybody, this is a last chance to change and we must take it together, united together. My third change is our political direction. I will set a direction that is distinctively Labour.
So his government will be taking control, he said, of housing, energy, transport and other important components of the cost of living.
And that is why this change today is the most significant change moment in our politics for 40 years.
The fourth pledge?
I will be a leader for the North, the South, the East and the West, for Scotland, Wales and for Northern Ireland. This brings me to my fifth and final promise. We will take power back from Westminster and Whitehall and give it to the place where you live.
Andy Burnham says that his election as Labour leader, his appointment as Prime Minister on Monday, is the most significant moment of change in British politics since the 1980s. Huge ambitions. We're yet to get the detail. Maybe we'll get some of it next week. Is this the most important change in 40 years, as Andy Burnham said?
I can't really make a judgment on that. It ensures that the country will go forward, will do it steadily and then accelerate.
The sense of some parts of the UK feeling that the best days were behind them rather than ahead of them, I'm afraid that is something, and we have to turn that around.
He's not dividing the North and the South, and I won't let him.
The removal van arrives at Downing Street to take Starmer's stuff away. Bishop's move. If politics is chess, Starmer has been checkmated by Burnham. This game is over, another begins. Robert Peston, ITV News.
Well, Andy Burnham promised to be a Prime Minister for all people and all places. He said he would bring the country and his party back together. But what do voters and MPs think of that? Here's our political correspondent, Romilly Weeks.
As Andy Burnham rolls into government unopposed and untested, many of his plans still hazy, at Weeting Steam Fair in Norfolk, in a constituency that got rid of Liz Truss at the last election, there was some optimism about another change at the top.
You know, you've got to give everyone a chance. I think he will do a better job than the one leaving.
I don't really know very much about Andy Burnham. I'm just hoping that he will be able to turn things around.
We should have a right to say if he should be Labour leader, basically.
And Prime Minister.
And Prime Minister, yes.
Well, he couldn't do a worse job, could he? Maybe.
Andy Burnham is promising to prioritise local decision-making. For the Labour MP in this rural seat, Burnham's Manchesterism mustn't mean an urban bias.
I think Andy Burnham needs to show that he understands the different concerns that we're facing. Rural areas are different to your Manchesters and your Londons of the world, and actually recognise that we've got potential for economic growth as well.
He also needs to unite what's been a very fractious party. This former welfare rebel is confident Burnham will handle looming decisions on welfare reform. better.
He wants to work with all MPs before introducing legislation, to have that discussion, to understand where the pitfalls are, and also to ensure that we get it right first time.
Andy Burnham chose to make his first trip as leader to Kent, where his party is under threat from reform. There's also a vocal group of Labour MPs urging him not to leave coastal communities behind.
One of the things I think we really made mistakes about in the last couple of years is starting to immediately think about the next election rather than about delivering in government. And I think Andy is focused on making sure that people start to see some material benefit to having voted Labour 2 years ago, so that when we go back to the country, people have got a reason to say, you know what, I can trust them with my vote again. And that will be about leaning down on the cost of living, but also about making sure that people can see the benefits of investment in their own communities.
Andy Burnham is starting with a new tone and a new confidence, but he won't have long to show he's got better answers to the same challenges as the man who he's replacing. Romilly Weeks, ITV News.
Our political editor, Robert Peston, is back here now. Robert, you said it in your report, lots of ambition in Andy Burnham's speech today.
That's certainly right, but not a lot of detail, and I have to say quite a lot of contradictions. So on the one hand, he says he wants to govern in a more consensual way, which he'll certainly have to do if he fixes some of the big challenges that he's identified, like social care. He's going to have to work with the other parties if he's going to get a long-term plan to fix the care of infirm older people. But then he also said, we are going to be the most Labour government for more than 40 years, which sounds as though he's actually going to make the party a bit more tribal. And then there's something else, which is in order to prove that he's going to be the most Labour party in 40-plus years, he says he's going to take control over what he sees as the big components of surging cost of living that we all suffer from, you know. So energy, he says he's going to take control of, transport, housing, you know, among other, as I say, you know, big water is another one. You know, and if he were to do that, potentially it would cost a lot of money. We've got to wait and see what the detail of that is. But equally, if it is nationalisation, and some of it will be, there are many in the business community who say they hate that kind of stuff. It's not pro-business. But he also said in his speech today he's going to be very pro-business. And then there's another thing. One of the reasons Labour MPs currently appear to love him is because he says he's going to end the infighting and also punish dissent in the party far less than Keir Starmer did. You'll remember Keir Starmer actually expelled MPs from the Labour Party who criticised him. He says he's not going to have any of that. The party's going to be united. But when he went to Gravesend today, just to prove that he cares as much about the South as the North, he was asked how he can claim to be the person who's going to end infighting, given that he's just knifed the current Prime Minister, you know, which was a sort of et tu brute moment. Normally, when one leader topples another, it doesn't end civil war, it's just the beginning, maybe in a slow way, of another civil war. Much more detail to find out. We're going to get a lot of it next week, and we'll know much more about really what this government will be about when he appoints the cabinet on Monday.